Hello everyone, my name is Seth, and today I'm going to give you my review of The Killer. The Killer is the latest film directed by David Fincher, also stars Michael Fassbender, and David Fincher is an incredible director. Michael Fassbender is an amazing performer. So, because of this, I was really looking forward to this. But before I go any farther, go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. So jumping straight into this, unfortunately, I didn't like this as much as I was hoping to. David Fincher, he's done films like Fight Club, Seven, The Social Network, Zodiac, and this seems right up his alley. And so I was so excited. I know that's kind of lofty expectations to expect it to be as good or around the same level as those films, but he's a great director and I know that he can pull that off. But this film unfortunately just didn't keep me engaged, and I could feel myself getting bored throughout the film. Every so often there would be a scene that would really pull me in and make it to where I couldn't look away from the screen. However, there's just a few of those throughout the film. There's just not enough of that throughout the film. And like I said, I feel myself getting bored at certain points. And that's really not what you want in a film. There was two sequences in this film that I really enjoyed. It sticks out. It's standout moments. However, as the weeks go by, I feel like that's really going to be the most memorable parts for me. I'm kind of going to forget the rest of the film. Those two sequences were exceptionally executed, but there's just not enough of that throughout the film. We spend the first bit of this film really getting to know our main character, the killer, and we spend a lot of time with him with his narration, internal monologue, and some of his actions while he's waiting to finish his mission. I think it was interesting to get this kind of inside look at our main character, hear his thoughts, really try to understand him as a character. However, I think it took too long to really get the story going. I think we were 15, 20 minutes into the movie, and I was like, all right, can we get the movie going now? The story here is pretty simple. It's basically just a revenge plot that kind of takes our killer around the world. And I don't need a big complex story. However, with some of the other films that David Fincher has directed, I was kind of expecting a little bit more. I was expecting more depth in the story, more depth in the characters, and I really feel like we didn't get that. I think some of the characters maybe had some shades of depth, but there's nothing really substantial here. And I think our main character didn't really have a character arc for the movie. Kind of seems like he ends in the same place he begins, at least to me. I suppose you could argue that he has a little bit of a change based off of his actions there at the end. No spoilers here in case you want to go see it, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's a big character arc. I definitely would have liked to see more depth in these side characters that we meet along the way, and really in our main character. Like I said, even though we get to kind of know his inner thoughts, I still don't really feel like I know him as a character. My issues with some of the characters and the story aside, I think all of the technical filmmaking here was done incredibly well. The cinematography was done really well. I loved some of the shots that they had. With pretty much all of these shots, you can tell everything's intentional, and they do such a great job of leading your eye exactly where they want it to go. There was one action sequence here that really stands out to me. It had such a great pace to it. The choreography was really good, but also there was some really good storytelling throughout this fight. Honestly, that fight sequence could stand on its own as a short story. Another thing I really haven't talked about a lot in some of my reviews, mostly because nothing I've seen recently has really stood out, but I love the sound design in this film. They make absolutely excellent use of just everyday things, like just walking on a gravel path, opening doors, walking through different pathways, hearing like people chatter, conversations in the background, maybe hearing like a shower running or TV in the background. Just everything around the sound and the sound design was so well thought out that it makes everything else have such an impact. Like the gunshots, the fight scenes, the punches, like all of the sounds really have an impact. And I think part of that is the overall sound design of just everything else. And speaking of the sound design, I really love how they did the narration. I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of narration in films. So if you don't like narration in films, be warned, there's a lot here. But the way they did it was very clever. Whenever he would speak in his mind, it's almost like we were transported into his mind. We would hear him so clearly. It was so crisp. It was incredible. And another detail I really like about that is how when he's thinking of something and we're hearing it, kind of the outside sound goes away a little bit. Not completely. You can tell what the focus is. Like if he's watching somebody open a door and hear like the traffic around, you hear that. And then when he starts thinking, all of that kind of dies down and you hear his thoughts. And I think that was really, really unique. A lot of times with narration, it's kind of just flat, but this really does a good job of almost like transporting you inside of his mind. And one thing I do want to bring up, I don't know if it actually was supposed to be a running joke, but for me, I found it funny every time he would talk to a flight attendant or somebody at a rent-a-car place or somebody else in the airport, hotel, whatever. He would have a different identity and a different name. And I feel like they made a point to show that. So my thought is that maybe that is supposed to be like a running joke, but it ended up kind of making me laugh a little bit just because I felt like we kept seeing that over and over again. And as far as I remember, I don't think we actually get his real name. I think Michael Fassbender was good in this, although I don't really think he was utilized all that great in this particular role because he wasn't asked to do it. Like I said, he is a great performer, but the character as a whole, for the most part, is kind of one note. And so he did a good job with that note, but I would have liked to see a little bit more from his character. Tilda Swinton in this, she had a small role, but she absolutely made the most of it. She did a really, really good job in this scene or two that she had. And there was a scene that she shared with Michael Fassbender, and that was one of the moments where I could not take my eyes off the screen. I had to know what happened next. And a lot of it is kind of like her monologuing to him, but the way that they kind of played off each other, more so her playing off of him, but she did a absolutely stellar job here. And as far as some of the other characters, they're all performed well. However, there's not much depth to any of these other characters, kind of like I mentioned before. They all kind of seem like NPCs from a video game, so there's not a ton of extra depth there with any of the other characters. None of the other characters really stood out to me. Overall, I think I have to say that this film is just okay. I didn't like it as much as I was wanting to. There's definitely some good stuff here, but unfortunately, I felt myself getting bored throughout this film a lot more than I was wanting. All of the technical filmmaking things here were so good. Like I said, I like how they mixed his voice and the narration. I liked all the little details they had. Everything was so clearly thought out. However, I don't think I can recommend this to everyone as a whole like I would like Seven or another one of David Fincher's films. Overall, I think I have to give it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. But that's it. That's my review of The Killer. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. I would love to have a conversation with you about it. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. You can follow me on social media pretty much anywhere at CinemaSeth, and I'll see you next time.